Okay, and welcome to EvilGinger Tuesday. As I said in the chat, I might have to disappear because I'm being threatened with a important phone call. Well, technically at 7 o'clock, but it's not happened yet. So if the device of ringing rings, I'll call it. And this might be a short one because I'm getting myself a little bit stressed about this phone call, as that's just the sort of thing that anxiety does. So I've got to put up with it. Anyway, not got a great deal to talk about this evening because basically I've been all over the place with the sleep cycle and working at night, as you might have said. But what I am working on, and these are in process of being cleaned up, are some nice little figures from John Martin, well, from Steve Barber, who's doing my 40mm stuff. These obviously are 28. They are early 100 Years' War, and they're Flemish. They're fairly monopose, but they come with a variety of weapons. They're Flemish city militia, and there are two versions of them. There is a version which is walking. There's a version that's standing, and these will be for a unit of Flemish militia to go into the collection of John Martin. They're nice sculpts, but as I say, they're mostly monopose and are done only with the adaptation change of weapons. There's bags of them. Each pack comes with a bag of weapons. So there's a selection of weapons that can be and they're in a gently advancing pose. Also, because John is a bit special and a good customer of mine, got a couple of little presents when I ordered it. A commander and the Flemish standard. They need a bit more cleaning up. Mostly they need hands drilling or hands filing, as they're open-handed, but there's a bit of flash about the hands. There's also a little bit of flash about the hands with these, so I'm going to have to carve the palm out a bit. One of the things that annoys me about casting quality is the fact that things like that are gunked up. It's not quite as annoying as drilling hands that are solid, but usually they're better casts. When they are solid, even if they're in brass hard metal, drilling them through the hole is a pain, especially with a hand drill. But again, that's something I'm going to be doing later on, but they're John. They're for John. Other than that, I've been mostly making scenery. You may have seen some of it. It's all packed away because it's almost ready to do, ready to be sprayed, which I'm planning on doing probably tomorrow, early in the morning, when it's nice and cool and I can use the bins outside and there'll be a good airflow over them, and I won't have to deal with ventilation issues, because no matter how wonderfully well ventilated you think a room or a house is, you are going to suffer from collateral effects, and as they cause me asthma symptoms, and I don't have a reliever on hand. I really want to avoid that. I'm not asthmatic, which is why I don't have the medication. Otherwise it would make life so much easier. But I do have a spray just for finishing off these particular buildings, because I want to seal them without actually having to put brush over them and disturb what might be a fairly delicate surface. I've solided it down as far as possible with glue and with a couple of coats of glue, but I think we're probably going to need to bind it sort of at a distance, and I don't have a sprayer or an airbrush, so it's going to have to be a crackle can, which I don't use, and I've ordered one especially for this purpose. Army Painter spray, which I'm sure loads of you use and love, but I'm not a massive fan of, because I rather like breathing, and I also don't like the snowy effect that it has a tendency to give if you don't mix it up properly, or the atmosphere is funny, or it's Wednesday, or, you know, that sort of random reason. But basically, this will get good and shaken, and then I will give it a spray, and that will probably be the only time I ever use that. I might fob it off to a friend of mine, because I also have a habit on the few occasions I've used sprays of them gunking up horribly and being one-use items. So I'd rather have somebody else find it out. Probably Igor, because he's daft enough to take anything for free. But I like the Steve Barber fig models. They do the job, and with the variety you get from the change of weapons, they're going to look the business. Also, they're all in livery coats, and I've got to look up and find out some images for Flemish City liveries, and probably do them as what it's the same livery, because after all, 12 men in billocks terms as a company, and your and my theory would be that a city would produce more than one company, and they probably have something by way of coherent livery, even if the rest of the gear was provided by the militiamen themselves. Could have got some crossbowmen to go with them, but it was only a small commission for stuff to add on to the many things that John have got going, and I'm fighting not to lose track of, and losing track of, and then fighting to recover what is going on. I've also got some more of the Horse and Heroes stuff to do. That's currently over on that workbench over there, and I'm in process of basing it. I was basing it at the end of last night, when I was beginning to lose focus. I did it after I'd had a go at and failed. Realised I wasn't up with doing the pictures. Actually, I wasn't up with taking a lot of them, because you've seen them. You've probably seen most of the ones I actually could save, but I managed to produce a lot with a lot of motion blur in them, because I really should have been asleep. About 6 in the morning I was taking them. It was nice natural light, 6 in the morning, and you know, I thought I'd schedule them across the day, but I only got one set that was worth having, and I've been posting other stuff. I'm trying to get more active again on Facebook, as the mental health gets into better control, and I can actually get some work done, but the heat isn't helping, and as I say, the fan have packed up, so I need to buy myself another fan for next year. Fortunately, it hasn't been hideously hot, but I'm trying to save money for business-related things that aren't that. And if I can live for another month or so without it, then it'll be 30, 40 quid I've saved, which can go to constructive stuff rather than just making me a bit more comfortable. This is probably going to be a fairly short one, as I was expecting a phone call, and I'm probably going to have to ring them. So I will be I will be stopping probably around about past, and then making that phone call, because it's twitching me a little bit. But I'll not end the stream early for no good reason. I'm also working on some Belgians, some Dutch, Belgiums are next. May 40 Miniatures doesn't know he's doing Belgiums next, but he is, because I may have to go and invade and dump a load of stuff that I've got in Flemish on him, because I'm pretty sure that a native Dutch speaker will have less trouble with Flemish than I did as a native English speaker, and if I could basically manage it, I'm sure he can. But this is a load of stuff for 1940s Belgium stuff, which nobody apart from Warlord does any of in 28mm, and the stuff Warlord does is a bit, well, it's Warlord, and some of their stuff is really good and some of their stuff is really bad, and their Belgium stuff looks very French, and the Belgium stuff, while they wore the French helmets, was rather more British looking in both colour and cut, especially officers who looked very British in their service caps. And this was a holdover, effectively a continuation from the later part of World War One, where a lot of the weapons that the Belgians got came from the French, but the uniforms were all made by the British. And sort of 1918 Belgium looked like a British soldier in a Adrian helmet at that time. They were usually with a Mauser type rifle. I'm not sure where they were getting the Mauser action rifles from at that point, because the majority of the Belgian armour industry was overrun, and neither the French nor the British made Mausers, even though the British were apparently considering a Mauser as a replacement for the Lee Enfield prior to the war. At some point, they did adopt the Spritzer round to go with for the Enfield, which had better ballistics, even though when push comes to shove you could crank a higher rate of fire out of an Enfield due to the way the bolt works, as opposed to the Mauser one. Because not all bolt actions are equal, and I've seen somebody do a Mad Minute with a bolt action with an Enfield rifle, and it's positively frightening. And the chap that did it was a nice fluffy guy who suddenly got a sharp edge, shall we say. Again, it's not entirely a myth. The point of the drill that the Mad Minute's based on was to give the effect of having a light machine gun, more light machine guns, or to use a squad as a light machine gun equivalent, because the British didn't have any, and they didn't have enough of the World War One, what was in World War One terms heavy machine guns. The big water-cooled ones were 2 battalion in 1914, and they went up ridiculously from there, even though they tend to pull out the machine guns into machine gun only units, and you've got the machine gun corps formed. I think that was 15-ish. But basically the number of machine guns per unit went up considerably. Same with the Germans. They started off with relatively few machine guns and then realised quite how useful they were, and the numbers expanded considerably. And of course, both sides introduced a light machine gun, the Lewis being more successful than most, and the German light machine gun being a cut down version of their heavy, mostly without the cooling shroud on it, or with a smaller cooling shroud, and designed to be pulled on a trailer, on a sled across the mud. Again, not terribly portable, but then again the Lewis wasn't particularly light in modern terms, and a lot of the weight was in that big cooling shroud that went around the barrel that looks like a water jacket. It's aluminium, but it's designed as a heat sink in much the same way that the water jackets were. The Germans had perfectly good lighter machine guns. The Parabellums that went on their aircraft would have served quite nicely, but the Air Force got all of those, I believe. Off the top of my head, though, I would have to further research it. Coffee, by the way, because the odd sleep-wake cycle is making me want to doze off as well at the moment. So I get in chat. Other projects I have on at the moment, I have the a load more other stuff for John at various points. I have a Khorne Space Marine army I'm just about to start on, and some Hordes and Heroes dwarves, which I'm in process of basing at the moment, and we'll continue when I'm woken up a bit. Anyway, I'm going to pretty much call it about this point, because I've run out of things to say and I'm twitchy about that phone call. So I'm probably going to ring the people who should have called me up and find out what's going on. Anyway, take care, everybody, and I will see you next week for a longer session. and with more stuff to show you. Take care and goodbye for now. Let's see if we can wake the mouse up. She's gone to sleep because it's obviously completely bored. Bless it. It's a wireless mouse, and it turns itself off if you don't use it regularly. And because this is YouTube and not Facebook, where I have to keep clicking on things to tell it I'm going fast enough, it's had a chance in the last 20 minutes to go to sleep. Right, take care and speak to you next time.